Previously on the Boondocks. Grandad was so determined to get his lick back, he ended up sending Stinkmeaner to the afterlife, killing him before he hit the ground. Stinkmeaner is in the fiery pits of hell, beating the living daylights out of demons. Stinkmeaner smashes Tom's wife until Huey concluded that the only way to properly end a moment is with peace, which sends Stinkmeaner back to hell. Now, once again, you would think, Tunes, this has to be the end of the moment. Girl, bye. You know that ain't it yet. There's still a couple minutes left in this video. Honestly, I wasn't expecting the Stinkmeaner video to get past 500 likes until someone told me. So, hate is a corrosive force, raw, primal, and often senseless, that thrives on fear, ignorance, and a refusal to see others as fully human. It's not always loud or explosive. Sometimes it simmers quietly, passed down through generations like a family heirloom no one asked for. The Hateocracy is a group of elderly individuals so steeped in resentment and bitterness that hate becomes their identity. Remember how I said Uncle Ruckus is the physical embodiment of self-hatred? The Hateocracy are not just people who hate, they are hate personified. Their existence isn't tied to ideology or justice, but rather their sheer addiction to conflict, cruelty, and the pleasure of tearing others down. So, we start with a 28 weeks later nightmare and Grandad sacrificing everybody. He tossed baby girl Jasmine like a football. Grandad happily escapes while everyone is getting mauled to death by multiple Stinkmeaners, including his grandsons. And you know what? I'm not even shocked by his actions. I'm sure all of you watching would sacrifice your family members in a heartbeat. He wakes up from his dream flexing to Huey and Riley that he survived. Allow me to introduce you to Lord Rufus Crabmeister, Lady Esmeralda Gripe Nasty, and Mr. George Pissofferson, the Hateocracy. A fearsome trio of senior citizens out for revenge, not justice, not closure, just pure, unapologetic get back. They crawled out of the shadows, ready to deliver judgment in their own hateful, wrinkled way. So let's get right into it. Our tale begins fittingly with Uncle Ruckus, working yet another one of his endless odd jobs, this time behind the counter at a dusty gas station. Seriously though, this man has more jobs than W-2s. During this particular shift, a black car rolls up. Out steps three crusty old figures moving with purpose and menace. They don't ask for directions or gas, no, they're looking for Robert Freeman. Now, the moment Ruckus hears this name, his eyes light up with unholy glee. Ain't nothing that gets him going like the chance to serve up some extreme, off-the-charts racism. He practically salutes them with hatred and spills everything he knows. That's when one of them, Lord Rufus, slides out a pair of brass knuckles and growls.
Why don't you just tell me where Robert is before I put fire across your lip, you big black dummy?
You think Uncle Ruckus would cower, but nah. If there's one thing Uncle Ruckus will always do, is stand on his warped version of business. Cut to later that day, Robert is at home kicking back and watching TV, until the news cuts in with a report, and guess who's on screen? Uncle Ruckus himself is busted up in a full body cast. Damn, they really jumped Uncle Ruckus. Man is in a sling, a crutch, and even a whole ass eye patch. Hey, if there's one thing about Uncle Ruckus, he ain't no punk. Next thing we know, they're pulling up to Huey and Riley's school with their car creeping up in the corner, which right away lets you know these old folks have zero remorse. Like pulling up to an elementary school to fight an 8 and 10-year-old. That's a new level of evil. And of course, Grandad pulled the Everybody Hates Chris and sent his two black grandsons to an all-white school. You know, in an area that is pristine, all-white neighborhood, suburban, gated community vibes. And yet, the moment these two crusty strangers, who is clearly not anybody's legal guardian, walk up asking for the only two black kids in the school, the staff just assumes,
yep, must be their auntie and uncle.
No ID check, no questions, just blind, dangerous confidence. And you, Karen number one, fired immediately. Listen, I know I haven't been in school in the last couple of years. I doubt anybody can come up to a school and request to take a student out of class. Like, shouldn't there be emergency contact forms, phone calls, like literally any protocol? Apparently not, because the next thing you know, over the intercom, Huey Freeman with the luscious afro, please report to the principal's office. Huey, being big brain, knows something is off and he and Riley bounce. Meanwhile, the dusty duo Piss Offerson and Gripe Nasty are posted up in the front office getting increasingly agitated about the Freemans' whereabouts. So Karen goes to grab some water, but when she turns around, they're gone. Where did they go? They really pulled the body flicker technique on her. At this point, we already know what time it is. Huey and Riley are about to get jumped by the elderly version of the Akatsuki. Huey, always the strategist, grabs Riley and heads towards the back exit of the playground. The plan, dip out before things get messy, but somehow they were already there. How? How did two 80-year-olds with hips made of dust and knees older than Jazz teleport around the building like villains in a fighting game? Ain't no way they were moving this fast just to catch some hands with some kids. At first, it almost felt like a joke. Riley was clowning them, cracking up when they said they were gonna kill these children. Like, who says that with a straight face? But then reality hit. When Huey and Riley tried to pivot and go the long way around, look up to the sky. These old ass senior citizens anime leaped across the playground like their joints were powered by pure hate. We're talking about Dragon Ball Z level airtime.
Get it on!
Alright, it's officially fight night at the elementary school playground. In one corner, we got Riley Freeman squaring up with Lady Esmeralda Grip Nasty, and in the other, Huey Freeman going blow for blow with Mr. George Pissofferson, a name that sounds like it was brewed in a pot of spite and arthritis. Huey and Pissofferson are in a full-on martial arts mode, trading combos like it's Mortal Kombat. Huey catches a sneaky elbow right to the ribs. You can see his whole body wheezing. That hit knocked the wind, air, and ambition out of him. Dude, I am in complete shock. Huey is really getting bodied by a man wearing a turtleneck and a dad bob built like a drunk. Pissofferson backs him up to the bench and with nowhere left to go, kicks Huey clean off. My boy goes tumbling across the grass. Just when it looks like it's wraps, Pissofferson charges in to finish the job, but Huey manages to roll out the way at the last second. And now we switch over to Riley standing there looking dumb. He isn't laughing anymore. Lady Esmeralda served him a 3-piece combo. She hit him with a jab hook so fast, it looked like she's been shadowboxing. That final punch has seasoning on it. Spicy, disrespectful, and straight from the soul. Riley stumbled back like he had just been hit with a bag of bricks wrapped in church candy. All that smack talk Riley was doing before, gone. My boy looked like he forgot what year it was. Grandma wasn't just fighting, she was cooking. Meanwhile, we cut away to a calm, sunny lakeside scene. Grandad, minding his own business, heads down to the lake for a quiet day of fishing. But as he approaches the dock, he notices someone already posted up next to a bucket full of crabs. Nothing too weird at first until the guy starts talking. This man, real calm, real casual, starts dropping thinly veiled bars about we gotta help each other reach the end, the same way Robert helps Stink Meaner get to his. And the moment those words hit, Robert freezes. His face drains of all colors. Lord Rufus stands up and suddenly starts spitting what looks like a customized flying guillotine. And no, I'm not exaggerating, that's what it's literally called. Grandad, having enough of this nonsense, uses his belt like a whip and starts attacking Lord Rufus, who is weaving his attacks easily. With no backup, Grandad does the only thing a man can do when being hunted. He tosses the bucket of live crabs and chucks them straight at the man's head. Now, we switch back over to the murder scene with Huey and Riley, who are getting slaughtered. Riley is getting absolutely wrecked. We're talking about blood and spit flying in slow motion like a scene out of Creed. Every punch from Lady Gripe Nasty is a full body reset, and Riley's out here catching all of them. And you know what's really hilarious? Not an 8-year-old boy getting jumped by this senior citizen. This is Riley we're talking about, the boy who be talking slick every episode, saying he's a demon hood rat, always acting like he's built for the streets, like he wrote the blueprint on being tough. Little bro folded so fast. But to be fair, if Riley could handle Huey, his big bro pro on a 1v1. I don't know what we were expecting here. Not a single point of damage dealt, just hands caught. Meanwhile, Huey, the trained fighter, couldn't even win his one-on-one match. Mr. George had that boy rolling across the playground like Asura did August. The Freeman boys are laid out, bruised, and winded, staring up at the sky like it's the end credits. The two members of the Hateocracy start walking towards them, slow and steady. Faces lock into the coldest, most menacing death stares I've ever seen. We need to clock in the fact that these two old-ass senile senior citizens are about to murder a 8 and 10-year-old just when they're about to finish the job. The school bell rings. A swarm of kids floods the playground like ants, and just like that, the Hateocracy vanishes. No smoke bomb, no getaway car, just gone. So, Huey, Riley, and Grandad return to the crib, understanding they stand no chance against the elderly version of the Akatsuki. So, they call in the one person who can help. Nah, I'm just playing. She offed herself in season 2. But if I'm gonna be so for real, if Grandad just accepted Luna and all her craziness, got her into some therapy, and make her drop her toxic ass friend Nicole, she would have easily clapped the Hateocracy with no issues. Oh, and speaking of Nicole, a lot of you commented that Nicole is actually voiced by none other than Rochelle. No wonder Luna herself. But for real though, Luna would have pulled a Mortal Kombat Kumite finisher on the Hateocracy and called it a day. So unfortunately, no Luna, so they called the best option there is, Bushido Brown, who looks oddly familiar. However, there's a problem. Hiring Bushido Brown as your bodyguard doesn't come cheap. It'll leave your bank account in the negatives. This man charges for everything. Need protection? That's the base fee. But oh, he's gotta use a certain imported toilet? That's another fee. You don't just get Bushido's fist, you're paying for the Bushido experience. Eventually, Grandad's patience hits his limit, right along with his bank account. Between paying for Bushido Brown's elite bodyguard services and everything else in between, Grandad finally snaps and tells him to get the hell out of his house. But the moment he steps out the front door, standing right there like a horror movie jump scare is the Hateocracy, ready to send Grandad to the afterlife. You know what? A crazy killer kung fu wolf bitch ain't looking so bad right now. So Bushido Brown squares up with the Hateocracy and starts beating that ass. Bushido gives Lady Gripe Nasty a Johnny Cage punch, and that took her wig right off her dome.
Oh my gosh, she's bald! She's bald and she's torturing people who have hair!
Bushido then launches into the air, knees up to his chest, and stomps the yard on her. With Esmeralda out the way, the last two members proceed to jump Bushido. To hell with that 1v1 crap. He then punches Lord Rufus away, puts Mr. George in a nasty headlock, and the man does a Crash Bandicoot-ass spin and knocks him to the ground. But once Bushido hits the floor, he gets caught lacking. Lord Rufus sees his moment, thinking he got Bushido caught slipping. He charges in for the finishing blow, but dude overreaches and ends up getting his weapon stuck in a tree. Bushido spots the opening and springs into action, closing the distance in a flash. But hold up, that stumble, that tree shot, it wasn't a mistake. Lord Rufus baited him. That flying guillotine stuck in the branches, just a setup. And as soon as Bushido moves in for the counter, Lord Rufus flips the script, pulls out the trap card, and catches him clean on the rebound.
Flawless victory.
Oh! Desperate not to end up like Bushido Brown, folded and forgotten, Grandad finally breaks down. He throws his pride away and blurts out an apology, not just for the fight, but for killing Stinkmeaner. The Hateocracy then revealed they didn't even rock with Stinkmeaner like that. Turns out, Stinkmeaner's death was just a convenient excuse. The Freemans were never the real problem, just the next people in line. If Grandad hadn't killed Stinkmeaner, they would have found someone else to harass, somebody else to torment for fun. What? red and blue lights flood the scene, the cops finally show up and slaps the cuffs on the Hateocracy. And you know what's really crazy? At the heart of all of this was one man, Stinkmeaner, whose hatred ran so deep he's still messing with the Freemans from the very pits of hell. Wow, now that I think about it, Stinkmeaner is just like Slade from Teen Titans. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!